Wow, it's been a while since I've uploaded. Been a busy holiday season. Welcome to Staccato Reviews, where I review an album after just one listen. This week it's Antemasque by the band Antemasque. This is the only album this band has released. It came out in 2014. And where to start with this band? So this band is primarily made up of two members who used to be in a few bands in the past that I really love. Starting with at the Drive-In, and then after that the Mars Volta. And the Mars Volta is one of my all-time favorite bands. The lead singer of that band, his name is Cedric Bixler-Zavala. He was the lead singer of at the Drive-In, the Mars Volta, and now Antemasque. So really the kind of creative genius, I would certainly call him a genius, but behind all of these bands is Omar Rodríguez-López, who is probably my favorite guitarist of all time. He just writes really interesting, crazy guitar parts, and he writes, I think, all of the music of the Mars Volta and Antemasque. I enjoy all of the Mars Volta's albums very much, and they've been one of my favorite bands for years now, and they broke up, I guess, around 2009, 2010, around there. So I've been kind of hoping that Antemasque is kind of a new version of the Mars Volta, and I'll just tell you now that it's not that. It definitely reminds me a little bit of the Mars Volta, but this whole album overall gives me more of a classic rock vibe than the Mars Volta ever did. Mars Volta is pretty much a straight-up prog rock band. But yeah, this is more of a, I would almost call it prog classic rock. And it's interesting because I'm not a huge fan of classic rock. Really not much at all. I find a lot of classic rock fun to play on guitar, but it's not really my genre of music, I guess. I like rock, but not classic rock. Overall, this album, though, has a lot of the hecticness, is that a word? Hecticness? Yeah, hecticness of the Mars Volta. Although the drumming, although the drumming on this album, I have to say, isn't as impressive as anything I've heard from the Mars Volta, which was kind of a disappointment because the Mars Volta has had a lot of awesome drummers in the past, like Thomas Pridgen off the top of my head. Pretty sure he was the drummer on their album, the Bedlam in Goliath, which is my favorite album of theirs. Recommend anyone check that album out. The guitar work from Rodríguez-López was definitely as impressive as ever, but maybe not as catchy. And it's kind of weird to call the Mars Volta a catchy band, but they really are. They just have a lot of crazy guitar lines that don't really make sense until you've heard them a few times, and then it kind of clicks and you go, oh yeah, this is really catchy, really well written. I didn't really get that impression off of Antemasque. There was one standout track that I love called People Forget. That's probably the one track on this album I would listen to multiple times. That's probably the one track on this album I would listen to again. Standouts on this album were, let's see, I Got No Remorse, In the Lurch, Memento Mori. Those are probably some of the hardest hitting songs on this album. Just really catchy, driving rock tunes. That's what I tend to enjoy. A lot of the other stuff on this album had that classic rock vibe I mentioned earlier. Couldn't get into those as much. Overall, would I listen to this album again? Other than the track People Forget, probably not, to be honest. This just didn't quite scratch the Mars Volta itch that I was hoping it would. So that's okay, because there's still plenty of Mars Volta albums I can hear over and over and never get tired of. Some of the more classic rocky tracks I could maybe get into, like Drown All Your Witches, I believe it was called, and then there was one called Providence. Kind of moodier songs that I enjoy, but honestly not something I would listen to on my own time again. But yeah, that's Antemasque. If you're a fan of the Mars Volta, I would recommend checking it out at least once. See if maybe it's an album you can get into, but just wasn't really for me. Thanks for watching.